Hello, beautiful viewers. Dom, the author of the cosmos. Prepare to indulge in experiencing sheer bliss, because today another riveting, captivating, stellar unboxing video is about to be brought to fruition. What item will I be unboxing? What item will I be opening? Without further delay, without further procrastination, allow me to elicit the packaging. What item remains relegated inside this bulky, hefty box? Let's find out. I'm going to demystify that answer to that inquiry right here, right now, and subsequently render the contents of the box transparent. Here we go. Bear with me. It will take me billions of picoseconds to extract the item from the packaging. I procured him via Amazon.com. He is undoubtedly a massive figurine. He is unequivocally one of the better figurines, a part of the Marvel Select action figure line. Would you concur with my opinion, or would you vehemently disagree? Let's find out. We also have deflated airbags that can be relegated to the trash. Alrighty. We have the one and only renowned, notorious, divine, astute, shrewd, magnificent, unrivaled, uncanny, prodigious, remarkable Juggernaut. Was he produced by Diamond Toys? He most likely was. It's going to take me ample time to fully unbox him. He needs to be opened in the imminent future. I will see to it that he is opened. There's an unmasked variant. If you're an avid, devout X-Men fan, then you may want to consider purchasing him for under $20 before he further appreciates in value. It was more affordable to procure new than used. I love Amazon.com. I paid under $15 to acquire him. I hope that I have no qualms about this purchase and decision. I guess he's an officially Marvel licensed product. Do they have to pay Marvel a royalty fee? Who knows? That is an enigma. Or do they pay millions of dollars for the license? Who knows? Here he is, in the flesh. Are you a tactile person? Do you love to touch objects? If you do, you'll likely be fond of this figurine, because unlike the Marvel Universe Juggernaut, he's massive and scales eminently with a 6-inch action figure line. He stands at least 8 inches tall. He is enormous. He can dwarf nearly anyone. When I say nearly anyone, I'm implicitly referring to other action figures. The Marvel Universe Juggernaut does not seem to tower over anyone a part of a 6-inch action figure line. I love the Marvel Legends Juggernaut that was churned out by Toy Biz amid the early 2000s. Unfortunately, I have to unravel these plastic bindings that keep him relegated to his packaging. Once I have removed him from his innate default packaging, I can flaunt him in front of the camera for you to feast your eyes on. And twisting these plastic bindings could take a copious amount of midas. This is tedious, strenuous, tiresome, debilitating. I am feeble, I lack physical prowess, I'm dainty. I feel lethargic. My energy is perpetually depleting. I need to intake more calories before my health exacerbates. Every day I'm becoming more gaunt, more anorexic. I am emaciated. However, I am content with finishing this video, so I will finish this video before I consume another meal of vegan food devoid of calories. I'm now only eating fruits and vegetables. I used to eat whole grains, but I desist from eating them because they decimate the microvillia. I just want to verify something real briefly. Bear with me one brief moment. Alrighty. I wanted to see if I could find him on eBay for under $10. It doesn't seem possible. He needs to be liberated. He needs to build momentum, not be imprisoned by his packaging. This is stress-inducing. It's too bad that I cannot automate this process. I'm confined to manually twisting his plastic bindings. Perhaps I should have edited this video and fast forward through this segment. At least I'm making headway in the unboxing process, even though it takes a myriad of minutes to undergo. They're packaged this tightly. it's a bit excessive to place all these plastic bindings around their appendages. But maybe necessary if they do not want them to get ravaged amid the transportation process. But I deem it necessary. I do not know. I'm not an engineer. Perhaps it would be more efficient if I cut the plastic bindings. Would that be a more efficacious way to liberate him? I do not know. I'm on the brink of passing out. I'm dehydrated. I'm famished. I'm parched. Let me verify something else real briefly. Bear with me. Another brief moment. Alright, never mind. The Marvel Universe Juggernaut costs over $1. Am I flustered? Am I flabbergasted? Am I bewildered? I wouldn't pay more than $1 for him. But your sentiments pertaining to the figurine may be disparate from mine. An item is only worse what the market is willing to pay. Do my voluntary transactions represent the totality of the action figure market? No, they do not. If I abstain from buying any more action figures, it likely won't adversely impact action figure producers. They can likely remain afloat without my voluntary transactions. They have a prodigious consumer base that's eager to buy more action figures at any given moment when they can afford to do so. Action figures deplete my wealth. They attribute to me remaining destituted and not being able to afford housing. I would deem housing to be unaffordable, especially when you're a full-time doctoral student. School is an impediment towards being able to generate wealth in the short haul. I cannot perform eminently on my school assignments amid working full-time. I can work part-time amid being a full-time doctoral student, but not full-time without putting my health in further peril. There's only so many hours in the day. I really don't want to sacrifice any more sleep than I already am, unless deemed absolutely necessary to survive. if I could work full-time and didn't have any other responsibilities, then I believe I would eventually be able to afford housing. The cost of living is so high and the standard of living is so low, I don't even know if it will be affordable in the pending future. Income tax is just enormous. It stifles my ability to afford housing. But there's nothing I can do. It is what it is. Sales tax is also burdensome. Same with property tax. Maintenance fees are exorbitant. Health insurance costs are preordained to amplify in the pending future. So the cost of living will likely be deemed more unaffordable in the future, which will adversely impact the economy. If consumers cannot afford housing and they lack disposable income, if consumers lack disposable income and they cannot afford retail products, then retailers cannot afford to hire employees. Is it efficient to generate revenue being self-employed? If your income is volatile, if your income fluctuates, then I would deem being self-employed to be an unstable endeavor. Perhaps you're less apt to be destituted if you have a stable stream of income, rather than work in a commission-based job where your whole entire livelihood is an enigma every month. If your salary fluctuates, then your ability to retain your house may be in jeopardy. If you have a stable salary every month, if you have a conditional guaranteed income, then you're likely less apt to lose your house as long as you retain your job. Alrighty. The action figure has been liberated from his packaging. He possesses physical prowess. His biceps accentuate his strengths. I love his muscle tones. I love his aesthetics. I love his shadings. I love his textures. His seam lines are not very noticeable from my perspective. Perhaps that's because my vision is perpetually diminishing. Is your vision beginning to atrophy? Is your vision abysmal like mine? If it is, then you're less apt to notice scuffs and scratches on your action figures. He lacks an ankle pivot. His knees do not appear to be double jointed. His knees appear to be hinged. I recollect that the Marvel Legends Juggernaut had at least 40 or 42 points of articulation. You can verify that for yourself. His helmet is unremovable, which is unfortunate. However, I prefer to view him with his helmet on rather than detached from his body. His armor cannot be adjusted. His wristbands cannot be twisted. They're bound to his appendages, never to be freed. I love the fact that his fingers are clenched together. If his fingers were opened, it would have looked uncanny and unappealing. He towers over the Marvel Legends Series 6 Juggernaut. He has a menacing look. Is he a sadistic character? Is he coercive? Is he malicious? Is he petulant? He's an inanimate object. He may lack a personality, but I did not know that for sure. Why? Because I'm relegated to the parameters of my consciousness. Does this action figure have a consciousness as well? That is an enigma. He most likely does not, but because I cannot see outside the scope of my own consciousness, because I'm relegated to only utilizing my 5 senses to discern my environment, I do not know whether this action figure has a consciousness or not. I'm just making an arbitrary assumption that hunks of plastic lack a consciousness. But if I cannot see the universe or the multiverse outside the scope of my consciousness, and I can never truly verify whether this action figure has a consciousness or not, because my thoughts and perceptions are relegated to the limitations of my own consciousness, if that makes any sense. Is this action figure physical? No, he's not. He's comprised of a myriad of particles. Particles are fluctuations of energy vibrating at extremely slow frequencies. So he's essentially a consolidated form of matter that's striving to become liberated. He's preordained to disintegrate. If you could view him from the atomic level, you would be able to notice that he's comprised of energy. Remember that energy is matter, which therefore means that matter is energy. He's really a consolidated form of energy, and because my vision is so abysmal, I cannot see this figurine and scrutinize him at the atomic level. If I were able to, then I'd be able to see the energy that he's comprised of, that's waiting to be liberated, and will eventually be when he's fully disintegrated. Will he disintegrate any time in the pending future? He will likely disintegrate in over at least 100,000 years from now. Actually, it may take him over 1,000,000 years to disintegrate. I believe the PVC plastic is non-biodegradable, so unfortunately he cannot last forever when exposed to the elements. But he will likely outlast the lifetime of my generation, and the subsequent generations that are preordained to be born in the pending future. He lacks the ability to swivel his wrist. He lacks a disjoint in his head. He cannot modify the position of his helmet. He lacks an ab crunch. What else? He lacks peg holes. What does he have? He has at least 8 points of articulation, if not more. He possesses physical prowess. He has a high quality sculpt. His deco is decent. I recollect purchasing him used via Amazon.com from Amazon's warehouse. He has high quality textures. Shadings are not abysmal in any facet. His seam lines are not very noticeable from my perspective. I mainly hone in on his face when I look at him and not the seam lines. Take a gander at his face, you'll notice it is practically unscathed. I love his grin. This figurine appeases me. He's visually appealing to look at. It's a nice contrast to other figurines that are not up to par. It's a Juggernaut, such as this character from the Dragon Ball Z series. She's also featured in Dragon Ball. What is this? It's just a miniature diorama. Let's find out. Perhaps this is supposed to be a background. It's too bad that he's not adorned with more armor. I would love to have a life-size Juggernaut statue in my possession. Okay. We have a background apparently. I'll likely abstain from utilizing it. Does it look like clutter? This cardboard harbor mold. You can also purchase other figurines that utilize Marvel's properties, which are over half a decade old. Here he is. Does the background augment this figurine? Does it enhance the value of purchasing this figurine? I think the background is shoddy. It doesn't really appease me. Could it be relegated to the trash? Perhaps it should be. I'll retain the figurine. I'll utilize the figurine. I'll flaunt him on my shelf. Hopefully I can retain him for the rest of my finite life. Hopefully his joints will remain sturdy and not loosen over time. Hopefully his integrity will not be compromised amid being displayed on the shelf. Hopefully he will not disintegrate in the pending future. Maybe it is advantageous that I cannot discern this figurine at the atomic level, because if I could and I noticed the particles that he was comprised of visually, then I may have abstained from purchasing him. In his current state, these particles give off the illusion that this item is physical, even though it's just comprised of energy, just like every other object that is deemed tangible. This figurine is just extraordinary, no facets. I would rank him to be a remarkable figurine. That transcends the value most action figures provide. I would rate him to be a 9 out of 10. My only gripes about this figurine is the lack of finger joint articulation, the lack of a disc joint in his head, the lack of an ankle pivot, and the lack of more armor. To render him more impervious to damage. His defenses are impregnable. Once he builds momentum, he cannot be stopped. Hence the name Juggernaut. He is deemed unstoppable. If he removes his helmet, then he renders himself vulnerable to mental attacks, where his mind can become encroached on. By Professor X or Jean Grey, when they leverage their divine powers to keep the Juggernaut at bay and to safeguard their fellow comrades. I look forward to the prospect of purchasing this figurine, and I'm glad that I finally did so. I used to possess a couple of Juggernaut action figures. I've never possessed the Marvel Select Juggernaut. Here he is next to Robin. He towers over him. He's also a couple inches taller than General Zod, at least an inch taller, if not 2 inches. So maybe he's closer to 7.5 inches. Here he is next to the Aerodrome Archer. I love this figurine. Fortunately, he's not hollow. If you're contemplating about purchasing this figurine, then I recommend doing so before his secondhand market value further amplifies. If you can procure him on Amazon for under $15, then by all means do so. If you have to pay over $20 for this figurine, then forgo buying him. That's my recommendation. I detest paying over $15 for a figurine. However, if I absolutely have to, in order to procure that particular figurine that's priced over $15, then I have no choice. I hope that you found this video to be enthralling and insightful. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Goodbye.